Good evening. Again to welcome you to our 7th session of our review program online. And today we are talking about interpersonal skills required for a consultant. But before we start our session, I would like to remind you some of a few announcements regarding our programs. Number one, registration for December 2021 examination is progressing very well, and there I'll ask you to register so that you may prepare and stretch yourself to finalize this exam. 18th of this month is the end for registration for those people intending to do the exam in December 2021. Thereafter, all people registered will be doing the exams in June 2022. So I would advise that you consider finishing up your registration formalities, being able to access the materials on the website. Please send an inquiry to us through www.imct.or.tz, info@imct.or.tz, and we shall be able to respond to your needs as fast as feasible. And the timetable for the program is still continuing. We have already covered Module 1, Module 2, and Module 3. The most interesting subject at this foundation stage is this issue of change management. It's better you see the lecture for this and get the glimpse, because that's core to the consulting. We have left you on Module 4, but we are continuing with Module 5, and we also started covering Module 6 in course of this presentation. So today we'll continue with our session, and in particular interpersonal consulting skills. So I welcome you back. As introduction, we say consulting is about exchange of words, understanding the client, and narrowing the instruction to be able to deliver value to the client. It requires skill, exchange of words. The words require skill in not only managing conversation, but even how the way you respond to the question issues. You need to have conversation control, that is ability to have knowledge and skill on about doing conversation. So question is, what kind of interpersonal skill that you might be expecting from a consultant to be able to manage the interpersonal qualities? You need to understand the conversation control is the ability to manage conversation. It's not about manipulating. It's not about trying to convince someone, but it's all about trying to have some skill and knowledge to make a difference. You need to understand the only way to understand what you say is how you say it, and seek to influence. Barack Obama used to say what you mean and mean what you say. That's typical what we're saying here. And you need to understand that it's likely that if other people see you behaving in a reasonable fashion, exercising control over what you say, they will respond in a positive way. But when you don't behave, when they see that you are unreasonable, they will hide a lot of information. Then your work will be very difficult. It's not a guarantee in a problem-solving situation that people will tell you what they feel. If they feel that you are acting in an understanding manner, they will be more open for the cruise. So it's important to understand the cause and cruise. Vital aspect of consulting assignment is identifying the key points as quickly as possible. That's critical. This is not easy, since although a client may be willing to talk about the problem and opportunities, they will not necessarily be prepared to trust you in particular detail until they are confident about you and your approach. That's the only way they will look on what you really are intending, because they've met a lot of fake people, a lot of people who just want to waste their time. So how did they trust you? Now you need to build that kind of repertoire. They will judge this at large measure on the cues that you give them, the way you behave, the way you act. And if they feel comfortable, they will begin to give you some clues as to the many problems involved. You have to be patient and listen carefully for the important words. There are some words which you need to capture when you're talking about or you're discussing with the client. People are usually giving the vital message when they use the words I, me, my. This is particularly so when associated with adjectives which is stress, concern, worries, excitement, distress, interest, or despair, we said. Sometimes the clues may not be so strong. People may just say, I'm not sure, or they may indicate that there is much left unsaid by veiled reference, such as, I've been thinking a lot about that recently. When you hear doubt expressed or an indication that more could be said, show your interest and let them talk further. Don't make statement or change the subject. Be a listener, avoid to be a talker. This is not a ground to prove your capability and abilities. No. This requires listening skills and ability to pick up the clues by giving the clues. Clues means showing them you are interested and you are able to address their problem. Client will give you clues as to the direction in which you should be asking questions. They may do this by emphasizing certain points or by prefacing what they are telling about, which with such words as urgent, important, vital, critical, and so on. So you need to be careful to listen to those words. These are more obvious clues, and it's more difficult to pick up these words that don't have such strong connotation. Now, I remember one junior consultant came to my office sometimes in the past, and was telling me about the certain assignment, and he started writing notes when I was speaking, explaining about the problem, the challenge we're facing. And when I was looking on the notes he was writing, I was like, can this guy read this note? So it's just writing for the sake of lack of confidence, showcasing that he cares. You need to be careful, because clients, when you show in a clue, clients will pick it up and then they will say, this is useless. This cannot achieve what you expected. So pick up the clues. Be capable listener. Be capable listener. That's the point of winning. Let's see this case study. I'm surprised how often advisors miss the clues given to them. This may be in many cases because a mass of information is provided and it's possible to be misled. A client might, for example, say, we've been doing a lot to try to improve productivity recently. We have had a committee which has looked at ways to saving cost and how we can improve the quality of products. They've met now for 4 or 5 meetings, but I'm disappointed we don't seem to be getting very far. The committee has talked about training people better and organizing some problem-solving workshops. We have looked at the possibility of conducting some experience in particular areas, particularly on distribution, which is one of our major costs. However, I'm particularly concerned that you have not developed a plan which you can put into operation. Time is now running out. The client stop at this point. Which of the coups do you pick? So they find there's so many coups. The word surprised, There is an issue of disappointed. There is an issue of improved productivity. There is an issue of quality. There is an issue of training. But also there is an issue of problem solving. There is a pinch in distribution. But also there is an issue of a plan. There is an issue of time. So you see some clues you can pick. So those are the areas you need to ask later after the client has stopped explaining further. And from there, he can see your point, he can see your understanding. Please make sure that you are not showcasing your ability and capabilities there. They know, that's why they picked you for the work. So you see some clues: training, productivity, time, distribution, plan, myself, cost, workshops. Those are some clues which the consultant, when you pick them very well, the client will give a scenario like this one. Now it's up to you as a consultant to ensure you capture the clues so that the client might believe that you have clues of what he's experiencing. Please consult your mentor for a video case study of this subject regarding the interpersonal skills part 1. And from this, we shall explore some issues further regarding what you should do as a consultant. There are some other skills, interpersonal skills, that we need to develop, and we'll talk about it in leadership session. Let's talk again on the coaching and counseling skills. Coaching and counseling skills. Coaching and counseling skills. Those are also very important skills for a consultant, because without which it will be difficult. It will be complex. Now, let's try to see on the area of coaching and counseling, and this is also a very important area as part of the skill a consultant should have. So we break for next 5 minutes, and then we'll be back to continue in after next 5 minutes. Thank you very much for your attention. And now let's have time to break a bit, and then we'll continue from there. Thank you very much for your attention, and I believe that at least you are able to pick some clues from your cues. Yes, welcome back. So let's talk about the coaching and the counseling skills for a consultant. As we said, consultant, you are a doctor to the organizational problems, and therefore you need to have multiple skills. This is a toolbox. That's the purpose of skills. Why you need to coach and mentor? Why? So purpose of this course is to define what is the difference between coaching and mentoring, describe characteristics of effective mentor or coach, explain the importance of coaching or mentoring and improve workplace and consulting effectiveness, and to define the excuses for not coaching or mentoring. Why coaching and mentoring for consultant? We say change is inevitable and the people are adverse to change. No human being is very happy with change. It never happened. That axiom we can talk about tonight. So laws and behavior are changing to match new demands in the workplace. Organizations are moving from hierarchical to team structure. So what is coaching and what is mentoring? It's what we do all the time. We just don't put the name to it. It's about influencing, helping, instructing, motivating, or leading. What does coaching and mentoring involve? An activity in which a coach or mentor and individual work toward individual performance improvement. Always when you get a new employee or you are telling another staff, that's part of coaching and mentoring. It's about influencing another to behave the way is better for the role, helping, instructing, motivating, and leading. That's coaching. What are some other skills practiced by successful coaches and the so-called mentors? So these are the characteristics of an effective coach, or what we call mentor. So people think that those are different terms, but almost they're related. Every mentor is a coach, but not every coach is a mentor. So number one, if you want to be a good coach, you must have excellent communication skills. You must be able to communicate your mind clearly and succinctly to your subordinate. Number two, you must be motivated, not gloomy. You should be enthusiastic on what you want to go. You should be goal-oriented. You should be creative so that you may support another person, influence that person to see that there is an added advantage with you. But also, one thing which is very important based on my years of experience in consulting, you must be very, very patient to a certain degree. Don't expect that a child can be born within 1 month of pregnancy. Give time necessary for the growth and the recovery. So let's see some other characteristics of successful coach, or the so-called mentor, on which I would like you to do as an homework. And please discuss with your mentor, coach, to support you to make a difference. Benefits of coaching. Number one, all is about success. Number two, success. Number three, success. So it's all about success, success, and success. It's a win-win situation. It improves perception of the consultant who take an active role of coach or mentor. It increases business opportunities through success. There's some few excuses for people not to coach or to mentor as a consultant. Number one is that a consultant is not a coach. I'm not a mentor. I'm a consultant. Please understand that excuses you put are just roadblocks. There's nothing more. Excuses are a roadmap for failure. Let's see the opportunities for coaching and mentoring. And you'll know the cost of failing to coach and mentor. Recognize the opportunities for coaching and mentoring team members. Develop a strategy for orienting new team members. Explain the importance of developing team members' performance. So what are opportunities? Number one is when. Anytime a new team member comes on board, you as a team leader, you are offsite. The individual appear to be too dependent on you and the other team members. When changes take place in workplace, new process, policies, procedures are implemented, or a team member is failing or is displaying behavior to potentially fail, then you need to coach or to mentor a person to raise his standard to better. The goal is to build a team. You need to also coach and mentor yourself out of the job. Empower team members, allowing them to be independent when even not around. Minimize impact of changes in the workplace. Smooth implementation of new processes, policies, and procedures, but also eliminate the need for formal counseling and retraining, because coaching provides the necessary insight for that. Now, when you fail to coach, what happens? Failure. You'll be blamed. The blame game will shift. And a failure of your subordinate in one door will cause another door. And before you know it, you're crumbling down. You lose team members because they'll be frustrated. You lose revenue because nobody will hire you again because of incompetence. There are time lost, but also there will be loss of confidence in your credibility by management and other team members. So let's see the process. How do you do coaching or mentoring? How do you do it? And what you will cover is develop a systematic approach to coaching and mentoring using a formal 80-phase model. Set effective goals and objectives with your team members. Identify the source for individual development. Construct an action plan for individual development. Very critical. Now, 8-phase approach. Number one, phase 1, establish your goal. Phase 2, correct performance data of a person. Phase 3, analyze performance, a continuous process. Phase 4, review and modify performance goals as needed. Phase 5, identify developmental resources. And number 6, develop an action plan. And last one is implement the strategy you agreed for purpose of improving the capacity and capability of your team member. And last one is evaluate the performance. So those are the 80 stage of coaching or mentoring process. Let's see what kind of relationship can it come. And in this subject, to be able to apply communication process, explain how coaching and mentoring can aid in building a better relationship. Use your knowledge of communication to improve interpersonal relationship in the workplace. Learn to avoid the 9 deadly sins that affect relationship. Build a strong relationship with your team members, peers, and the boss. So let's see communication process. What is communication? It is a transmission of information from one group or individual to the next. That's communication. And it contains communication model. We say building solid two-way communication in your team cannot be overemphasized. Let's see communication model. So we start with an idea by sender. Always it will be received by noise unless it goes to the understanding. If that person you are sending a message is not understanding, it's a challenge. And then the channel kills message, then it decodes the message, then perform the task because they've understood the message. And then automatically feedback will come back to the sender. Hello, you say hello, it means you've understood. It will go through all this. There is a lot of noise because there's some other interpretation, etc. But also, if need be, you may give other additional feedback to the receiver. So let's see issue related to the better relationship. And as I said, your prior communication process, explaining coaching and mentoring can aid building better relationship. So how do you build better relationship? Use knowledge and communication to improve interpersonal relationship with force. Learn to avoid non-days that affect relationship. Be strong relationship with your team. So let's see the dead sin that affect relationship. This is very important for